Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Lash Extension Podcast. I'm Erin.
And I'm Tress, and today we are going to be talking about social media in many different aspects, but specifically how Erin and I have struggled with it. That's fair to say, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not all about the struggle. Maybe it's about the evolution and changing and what we're doing now. And we wanted to share with you kind of what our experience has been and how we have worked with it, how social media has evolved for us as lash artists, and how we can help you create the mindset to work through social media in a healthier way. I think that's like really the intention of our conversation. And then maybe we have some updates for you towards the end of the podcast.
Wink, wink. Yeah, social media is really like a hot and cold situation. And as much as we know it's so important for our business and for staying relevant and honestly just continuing to show up and stay committed to not only yourself and your business, but also your audience and serving your potential clients, your current clients, or students if you're an educator, or, other lash artists if you're a brand. There's a lot that goes into it. And it's not always sunshine and rainbows, if we're being honest. And we want to have a really candid conversation and a really honest and vulnerable conversation about maybe as much as we love both Tress and I can speak for both of us here. We both love social media. We love connection. We love serving you guys in this way. But we also want to maybe shed some light on not necessarily the shadow side of social media, but we just kind of want to show maybe the other side of social media and how we work through it. Because no matter who it is, no matter who your favorite influencer is, your favorite brand owner, there's always going to be struggle that everybody deals with and everybody experiences. And for us, and I can speak for me here, like specifically in the last probably like 8 or 9 months, I have struggled with social media so fucking hard, you guys. Like,
Legit.
so
Same.
hard.
Same.
And I think that just really goes hand in hand with the ever evolving industry of social media. I want to call it an industry, but that's not necessarily the word that I'm looking for there.
I guess it
But
kind of is.
but like social media, particularly Instagram, has transitioned and shifted so freaking much over the last like 2-3 years. Like I remember 2 or 3 years ago when it was all about the grid. It was all about the feed. It was all about carousel posts. It was like perfect, like portfolio, professional photography.
Curated.
It was so curated. And then there was like checkered feeds, and there was like pattern grids, and like it used to be such like a art form platform like that.
I
And
loved it.
that was my favorite era of Instagram
Mm-hmm.
personally, and I want to go back to that so hard, and maybe I will, but
You can.
but now it's changed so much to like now it's a mini TikTok, and
It's
it's
the
all
Wild
videos,
West.
it's all reels. There's no sort of like the pages nowadays that are engaging the most and that are growing the fastest truly are the ones that are posting videos the most and have like zero aesthetic or like planned out aesthetic to their grid. And that just fascinates me. It's just a totally different social media world than how it was 2 years ago. And yeah, we just want to talk about it. I, for myself, can say that for years, like easily since, oh gosh, that would have been 2019, I believe, I to 2023, August of 2023, I posted, you guys, dun dun dun, I posted 30 times a month for 4 years straight without missing a
Yeah.
month. Like I never missed that. And then August of 2023, I hit that wall so effing hard that like I feel like a freight truck. You know what are those tester cars called? Like where the dummies in the tester
Yes.
seat and you just like smash into that
Like with
wall
the
and the
test dummies.
yes.
Yeah.
That I feel like was my mental health and like my mental status that I hit August of 2023 with social media. How do you feel about that, Trust? Because I know that you were just as consistent as I was.
I was just as consistent. I showed up and I posted every single day without fail for 3.5 years. But it was incredibly difficult. It was incredibly emotionally taxing and draining. And at the same time, I feel like it was easier than showing up and posting every day now. And it's because I think of social media in two very different ways. the one way I think about it is as a business.
Mm.
And the one way I think about it is as an influencer account, right? And I feel like for me, the parameters of a business make it easier for me to show up and post things and create content because I can do it within parameters. But if I'm looking at social media from the aspect of like being an influencer or just like having a personal account or having like a personal business account, like when I was just posting about like coaching stuff, that felt so out of control for me because I had every option, right? It's like, have you guys ever gone to a buffet at a casino and no matter what you get, you're disappointed because you end up so full and there are so many options you didn't know what to choose? So maybe
Mhm.
you take a single bite of like all of the things that you thought you wanted, but at the end of that single bite of all the things that you thought you wanted, you still see things that you want or you should have done.
Yeah.
And to me, doing social media without stricter boundaries around it feels like that buffet to me. Like you can just
Mm.
gorge yourself on it and still not create the things that you want to create and still not have the impact that you want to have. But if
Do you
I
mean
think of
like
it,
sorry, I interrupted
no,
you.
it's okay.
Do you mean like in a way of consuming and then creating, or do you just mean in a way like there's so many options on what type of content that you can create that
The
you get
second one,
overwhelmed?
yes.
Okay. Mhm.
Yeah, so it's like it's sort of the buffet is the only thing I could think of. I've eaten at a casino buffet once in my entire life, but I think it makes sense, right? And if you ever see like reels of like Vegas buffets where like everything looks like it's the best thing you're ever going to put in your mouth, like none of it is really fulfilling.
Mhm.
And so it's like I have the option to do anything and everything I want because I don't have to have a curated feed and I don't have to promote any specific product and I don't have to stay within a brand guideline. I can just do whatever. And for me, that feels paralyzing. I feel like for some creators, it was the freedom that they needed to be able to like take off and run with it. So, like, when that change happened, I mean, guys, I remember reels coming out and I remember looking at my husband and going, I don't know what this shit is, but I am going to be the queen of it. I
And you
literally told
have
him
been,
that.
Ma.
Thank you. I literally told him that. And I remember creating my first reel and I remember creating my second one and my third one. And he actually asked me about one of them the other day. Like it was from a band called the Dandy Warhols, which most of you probably have never heard of them, but that's okay. And like I did this, like I removed my makeup as I was like drinking a glass of wine and I like had it all like on fast forward. And I loved creating that reel, but it was because I had boundaries around it, right? And
Mm.
so like what I really think is helpful for us is if we are able to look at our brand or look at our business and go, I'm posting on behalf of this. I'm not posting for me.
Yeah.
Because I think it's when we get it like I'm posting for me, it can feel selfish. It can feel it's so easy for us to give up on ourselves. It's harder for us to give up on something else that we have made a strong commitment to. I don't mean having parameters to the point of paralysis though. Like to me there is a happy medium
Mm.
for these are the parameters that I live within, which is why the curated feed, the curated grid was beautiful for me because
Yes.
I was like, okay, I know that I can take a picture that I took, a picture. I can take a picture that I took, I can put it into Lightroom, I can edit the colors to match my feed, and I can just pop it on there and say something meaningful in the caption instead of having to like conceptualize and create a hook and create a call to action and then play it out. I just told you this, but like I filmed a reel yesterday setting up my new photo studio in my home. It's going to be like for photography and for Instagram and for YouTube and for podcasts. Like I haven't like I redid the studio in my home and I did a reel throughout the entire day documenting it. And now the idea of going back and curating that reel and having it have a hook and having it have a call to action and having it have all of these things is hard for me. But like I can go do that for a business with my eyes closed.
Yeah, I think that the concept of being able to show up for somebody else is so much easier to show up for yourself.
Bingo.
That is so relevant in this conversation. And I think that a lot of creators nowadays, unless they are representing a brand and like maybe posting for a brand or have obligation or they have commitments made to other people, it can be easy to accidentally, forget about yourself or just like go a couple days or go a couple weeks without posting and either having to follow trends, which as we know, we've talked about, like isn't the best for marketing for your business. If you're looking at Instagram as a marketing tool, which it is, following trends all the time is that are constantly moving and changing sometimes can be relevant and helpful for your business, but sometimes it's not relevant and helpful for your business.
I don't think
So
it usually is. I think you need
yeah,
to stay consistent with your business, and that's what's going to
yeah.
bring people in.
Yeah, and so coming up with new creative content that's for yourself consistently, it's freaking hard. It's really hard. Especially I'm kind of pivoting the conversation here really quickly, but especially too when you're consuming so much and then now having to create out of a place that is organic to you and your mind, and it's not something that's influenced by what you've been consuming on social media, whether it be trending types of content and types of reels or TikToks. Like it can be really, really challenging to the point that you're like, it's easier to just not do it. And then in my case, I've just gotten out of the habit because I've been stuck in that paralysis state for so long that now I'm just out of my habit. When previously, when I was posting 30 days a month consistently for years and years, that was just a part of my daily routine that I knew that I had carved out in my days. I literally would decompress at the end of my days. I used to tell Tress this all the time, and she never believed me, but I used to decompress
Oh,
at
I
the end
thought
of
you were bonkers.
I know. I literally would be laying in bed at night and I would be creating and I would be curating my page and I would be working on editing my, either reels or at the time it was carousels and my captions and editing my photos and doing everything that I needed to do for the next day or for the next couple of days in batch work for my content over the next few days. And I would do that every single day in bed. And every day it was carved out in my schedule that I posted at this certain time. It was after my second client for the day. I was eating my lunch, I was disinfecting, I was washing my hands, I was using the restroom, and I posted. Like it was just a part of my daily routine that I would take time at the end of my days or during my days. My phone was always out. I was always recording my sets of me working on my clients, of me, anything behind the scenes. It was just a habit that I had built and a muscle memory that became habitual and something that I could commit to for myself and for all of my followers. And it became something that was expected of me. And I would get messages all the time of people recognizing, like, oh my gosh, you're so consistent. How do you do this? How do you post this much? And I was like, I genuinely have a love for it. And it's a habit. It's just something that I see and it's so creative and it's so much fun for me. And then slowly coming out of that habit, it got easy for me to now building that habit back up is harder than it was back in the day had I never left.
I just had an epiphany,
Okay.
like a massive epiphany. Whoa. Do you remember when I had to stop drinking coffee? I promise this is relevant.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe it was a year ago. Maybe it was like maybe it was about a year ago.
Mhm.
Okay.
It was maybe around there. I
I
think.
had coffee time every morning and I curated or I edited a quick
Mm.
reel or a video or a photo and I posted it every morning when I was having my coffee.
Mm.
So I did like this whole like active meditation thing where I made my latte and like I didn't think about anything else in the world. So like my brain was like freshly squeezed nothing and it was wonderful. And
Freshly squeezed.
and I I would sit down with my cup of coffee in the morning and like I had just had this like beautiful, I don't know, 5 minute, active meditation while creating my beautiful like latte. And then I would sit down and I would spend a half an hour of intentional time to post. And I haven't been intentional and with daily posting since I stopped having my daily coffee. No, okay, wait. So I stopped being able to have coffee like a year and a half ago, I think. And then I switched to tea, and I switched to tea lattes. And so I did the same thing. And I would sit and I would have my tea. And it was probably about 9 months ago that I couldn't have tea anymore either, just like my body rejects it. And wow. So like we need like what I'm hearing from you, because you just told me something, what I'm hearing from you is I need to recreate a ritual around it.
I agree. I stopped drinking coffee in 2021. No. Yeah, I think it was yeah, I think it was 2021 I stopped drinking coffee as well. And in the mornings, before work, I would sit in my car, I'd go get my coffee, I'd pull my car into the same place every morning about 45 minutes before my first client, before I had to be into work to prep for my first
Mhm.
client, and I would sit there and create content on my phone
Yeah.
while I was sitting in my car drinking my coffee. You're totally right that like pairing social media and like your content creation with another action might just be the way of like recreating that habit and that ritual around it so it stays consistent.
We need to turn these into videos one day soon because you guys should have seen my face when that light bulb went off.
Girl, her arms was literally like freaking like wings. They were like out to the side.
I was like, "Oh my god, that happened." Right?
Yeah.
And if you guys know, like, coffee has been a very important part of my life. I spent 4 years as a barista. I went to Brazil when I was 18 years old, and I gave away my clothes in Brazil so that I could pack my suitcase with coffee from Brazil because it's the best coffee I've ever had in my life. And then at the airport, I threw more clothes away in order to put another 5-pound bag of coffee in my carry-on to bring home. So,
You
like,
know
this
though,
was a huge part of my life that I tied to another huge part of my life.
yeah.
And so when one of those things went away, you guys, it is not the same to sit down with a Celsius and have a relaxing moment.
No.
You chug that business and get on with your day, right?
Yeah, I mean, so okay, so this is really
Not where I saw this going.
epiphanic. I don't know the right grammatic term for that. But like this is really eye opening, and I think that this is a really good like place to start for somebody who is like wanting to get out of the rut. That honestly, I'm going to be practicing because I'm trying to get out of this rut right now. And one of the
Same.
conversations that I just had with a coach that Tress and I share is that if you are somebody that is trying to build a habit again, especially when you were a high performer in that area for a long time and then you've fallen off and you're trying to get back to it, it's really easy to compare your current actions to where you once were. And
Mhm.
it's really easy to like get on that really high flying place where you're like, you post one time and you're like, yes, I'm back. And it's kind of that extremist mindset where you're like, I'm going to be posting 30 times a month from now on. And I haven't posted once in like 40 days, like something crazy. And so then, the higher the high and the more extreme that the pendulum swings on one side, the more it's going to swing backwards, right? So, like that momentum can swing you backwards just as much as it can swing you forwards. And so, what he told me is that don't get so, like, if you post one time, great. You posted one time, celebrate that. That's great. But don't make it more than, okay, I posted today. I'm proud of myself for posting today.
Mhm. Yeah, don't go, "Now I'm back." I've
Now
done
I'm
that
back.
37
Yes.
times in the last 3 months.
Same. I've been doing it for the last 9 months. Like, oh no, gosh, it's been 10 months now. We're recording this in June. I quit in August. So like I've been on this for 10 months now of building this, of trying to rebuild a long-term habit. And so what he was explaining is like if you put it in context as a metaphor, similar like a car, like a 6-speed, 5-speed car manual. Nowadays anybody that doesn't know how to drive a manual, I mean, pretend we know. Pretend
We'll
we know.
pretend.
So what he was explaining though is like you're not going to take the car from reverse into fifth gear. You're going to take the car from reverse into first gear and then second gear and then third, fourth, fifth, right? And so if you go from reverse to fifth gear, you're going to stall the car and it might work once. You might get 20 feet forward, but it's going to be a really bumpy road and then you're just going to stall the car. then you have to consistently be starting over. Similar like when you're in the gym and you go one day and you're like, "Yes, I'm back. Oh my gosh." And then you fall off again. And then it's disappointing every time, and you feel like it's kind of like I don't want to say the word failure, but you're kind of like setting yourself
Yeah.
up for a failure mindset when you do that for
It's the
yourself.
self-sabotage cycle.
Totally. You look like you just had another epiphany. What?
It's because it's the self-sabotage cycle. And I teach on it all the time, and I'm
Yeah.
doing it to myself on social media.
Yeah, and so, now I feel like my brain has been stretched so much recently with, like, having to get out of the perfectionist mindset again, because back in the day when social media was like what we were talking about is kind of my favorite era of social media, when it was very curated and it was very thought out, and, like, I planned my grids back in the day, and I taught how to plan my grids. I taught color theory. I taught balancing your grid. Like, I taught aesthetic on social media and being consistent. Like, that was an I was teaching 4 or 5 times a month in private mentorships and in-person trainings for years, and almost every single, if not every single one of those mentorship, I was talking about social media. Like, that was a whole segment that I added and chapters that I added in all of my courses, including mega volume courses, including like group courses and group trainings that I've done. Like, social media and marketing was a chapter in all of that. And so now coming back on the other end of this, I'm like, whoa, it is a whole different like deconstructing and reconstructing a mindset, going from back then when it was very curated feeds, because it was almost easier to plan your content back then when you had a planned out grid.
I
As
feel like that's because we're very artistic people. Like, we're very visual people. Not everybody is. You and I very much are, though.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, you planned out your grid. I didn't plan a single day in advance. I would just find something I had in my phone because I took content all the time and make it work. Like, I'd just make it fit that morning, but you would plan it. But I think it's still because we were creating something that I'm having so many moments. This is
I
such a good
love this.
conversation.
That's good.
Um like, but we were creating something that was a bigger picture.
Yeah.
If every post or every video we have to do, like for me, if every post or every video I have to do has to be a complete picture, you guys, I feel like that's what's like crushing me, is
Mm.
because like from start to finish, from concept to posting, I feel like every single thing has to be a well-rounded, thought out, complete situation. And
Mhm.
then everything is like a complete picture. And I just kept building my picture. It's like creating a painting, or creating a set of lashes. Like, if you have to make one fan only, you're going to stress out about the fact, like, if it has to be perfect, you're going to try to make the most perfect, the best fan you possibly can. You're going to stress over it. You're going to think about it too much. You're going to like mess with it over and over and over and over again if you only have one shot at it. But you can put 200 fans on somebody's eyes when you're doing lashes, and you know that if one is imperfect, it's okay, because they're building a picture together. Like, they're building a final result. And I feel like that's what I was doing with Instagram, is like, I kept adding to the work of art that it was, instead of needing every single thing needing to be its own thing from start to finish.
Okay, so I want to ask you a question here. Do you feel like over the last, 2 or 3 years since TikTok became a thing, truthfully, what I've noticed is that people's attention spans have continued to get smaller and smaller. And so people are heading to social media as like a serotonin or a dopamine quick hit. And so that's why TikTok became so big and people are really addicted to TikTok, because you can scroll and you can get really quick hits of dopamine and serotonin watching a video for 10 seconds and then moving on to the next video. As where, 2, 3 years ago, before TikTok was a thing and Instagram didn't have reels and they had, videos on your grid. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh. Do you guys remember that?
They were square.
They were square and like they went into,
Why do
Insta.
I feel old?
Oh my gosh. They went into, uh, oh my gosh, why am I blanking it? The where it's Instasize. And we had to like Instasize our videos and make sure that it fit the square perfectly, right? So back then though, I remember that like at least for me, I sat and I read long captions. I
Yes.
scrolled through carousels a lot longer. I spent more time on posts back then before videos and quick hit videos were a thing. Nowadays, it feels like um it's almost like the undercurrent of our attention span as humans has sped up so fast that people are like having to speed up their content creation and having to speed up the literal speed of their videos. Like in a reel, you have to keep it to like 15 to 30 seconds in order for people to actually make it all the way through. As we're back in the day, you could post a 90-second to 2-minute video in a square. And like, I remember I was getting comments and engaging comments regarding the very end of these videos, like minutes later. And the ends of my captions, like it feels like just a different time now of social media, and it's almost like I'm trying to slow down and like keep that curated, thoughtful, mindful, like value packed Instagram, and being very educational and wanting to give as much service as I can to my followers, but it has to be really fast now. And like that for me is kind of an internal battle, like a tug of war, where I'm like, I want to be very thoughtful and curated and articulate with the education that I'm giving on social media around something that feels to me, and I know to any other lash artist, that this is supporting their life and their business and their family. It needs to be, uh, it's important that, to me anyway, that I am giving value that is well thought out because it can affect other people's livelihoods. And
Right.
so to me, that feels like something I want to spend a lot of time on and curating and articulating versus a really quick, just like quick hit reel that's like a B-roll content, and then, like a really quick CTA on the post that says read caption for more. Like I
Mhm.
want more value again on Instagram. And so it's kind of this internal battle of like what I want and what I love versus like what Instagram, what's getting the most engagement nowadays. And like
S-
that feels like a pull too.
Yeah, so this is like where my brain goes. And this is like a very off the cuff conversation, you guys. But like, this is where my brain goes. I want to be like, okay, so what if we went back to that? What if, because like, whenever I was working on growing my following, it wasn't really growing. And whenever I
Mhm.
was trying to get more likes and views, it wasn't really happening. And whenever I just like sat my butt down and just gave,
Mhm.
that's when things would grow. And it's so hard because like I work in social media behind like as part
Yeah.
of my actual job outside of being Tress. Like
Mhm.
I work in social media and I know what to do for it fundamentally.
Mhm.
Like I do, at least in our industry, right? I'm not saying I could go sell cars and have it be the same thing, but
I just had deja vu.
whoa.
I
Okay,
had
hold.
had a dream you were gonna say this.
Whoa.
Oh, no.
That's
Okay.
fun.
I love deja vu. Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
Wait, where was I going?
Well, you do this as a day job outside of being Tress.
Oh, but my initial thought is why the hell can't I do what I want? I
Mm,
can. And every time I just like stop paying attention to everything else and stop paying attention to everyone else and just do what I want on it,
mhm.
it does great. And anytime I think I need to fit into a mold, it doesn't. So like what would be wrong with going back to doing things the way that we loved doing them and seeing if there are other people out there like us that miss that?
Yeah. It's funny because I think nowadays people like TikTok, for example, or like the Reels, people are like they're posting for gaining followers nowadays. And back in the day, and even now still, I feel like my main focus for posting is to nurture my current following and to
Yes.
continue educating and continuing to offer value to the followers that I currently have that are relying on me and they enjoy seeing my content. It's for them that I'm creating for. And naturally, nurturing my current followers and continuing to give education and value to them while staying consistent, and the dovetail of that and the partnership of that that is what really exploded my page back in the day, and creating content that was shareable to the other people were like, oh my gosh, I need my clients to see this. I need other lash artists to see this because it's so valuable and it's so different than what everybody else is posting for just like quick following hits nowadays.
Yes.
I feel like that would stand out now. And a lot of people are right now are looking for ways to stand out on social media. And I feel like if you were to go against the grain a little bit and do what we used to do and really set an intention to just serve your current audience and serve future audiences in a slower, more like thought out and I don't know, mindful way, I feel like that would stand out so much that you would naturally create a niche for yourself and people would want to follow you because it is so different, even though it's like a reverse psychology where it's like just going back to what it used to be.
Yeah.
That's
But
interesting.
so
That's really
like
interesting.
my thing with that is I have always told myself if I reached one person, if I
Mhm.
connected with or impacted in a positive way or even changed one person's life, like I know that that sounds like very magnanimous, but like it just if that happened, then I did my job. So
Yeah.
do we have the capability as content creators all around? Do we have the capability to go, "You know what? Forget the algorithm for a hot minute. I need to get back in a place where creation feels good. If I hit the one person who needed to see my post today, it was good enough." Right? Like I went from getting 25,000, 30,000, 100,000, 200,000 views on videos to 4,000,
Mhm.
like to 2,000. Like I really took my community that I had built that was used to seeing lash content from me and I flipped it on its head and started posting encouragement and like coaching content.
Yeah.
And I had to tell myself if one of these things hit the right person today, then that was good enough. So, do we have the capability to go, I'm going to do this for service? I'm not going to do this in order to gain anything for myself.
Yeah.
And is that good enough for us? I don't know. It's a big question.
It's a big question. It's very contemplative. Yeah. I love this conversation.
I do too.
Yeah.
So can we leave everybody with a few words of encouragement when it
Mm.
comes to Instagram or a few actionable items when it comes to Instagram for how to, if you're in a rut, how to help get out of a rut, or if you are in a place where you're like, I know that I need to do this to drive my business forward.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start or it feels overwhelming. Like, do you have a couple initial thoughts of like what you would serve somebody with, what kind of education or encouragement you would serve somebody with?
Yeah. And you know what? I'm taking my own advice here and I'm going to speak from a place of like what I want to say to myself, being in the current rut that I'm in. And like, from my higher self to my lower self where I'm currently sitting. That's kind of the angle that I want to take on that advice because I certainly don't want to come off as like, I don't want to stand on my soapbox and be like, everything's been perfect. Like, I don't struggle with social media ever. Oh my God. Right. Like, I certainly want to come from a place of like, I empathize because I'm sitting here with you and I'm talking to my
Mhm.
equal here. So just like prerequisiting with prerequisiting, right?
Have
with
grace for her. There we
with
go.
that, with that. So like, yeah. So what I would say to myself right now is one of the things that cripples me the most and what has continued to cripple me and what keeps me from just pushing out content and even though it's something really valuable that I know, really, really quality ideas, what keeps me from actually creating it and posting it is like fear of judgment from others, and B, it not being a perfectly curated like color palette, or like maybe my makeup isn't done that day, my hair is not done that day, or like I'm wearing a color like a sweatshirt, or right now I'm wearing red, like a bright red that like nobody on here can see because this is audio, but like Tress can see it. I'm wearing a bright red like jumpsuit and my brand colors are black and white. So like to me, I wouldn't make a piece of content wearing this outfit and post it to my page because it's not on brand, in quotes, like air quotes, on brand. Um, and so those days, I feel like I end up just being like, forget it. I'm not going to create content today. And then the next day, I end up also wearing, say, for example, blue. I don't know, a color that's, again, not a color that's in my brand kit. And so I would tell anybody, if you're struggling with mundane things like that, where you feel like, oh, my life isn't aesthetic, my house isn't, perfectly curated like an Instagram feed, or I don't have like name brand clothes, or like I don't, whatever it may be aesthetically, it's better and more important for you to post the quality of the piece of content that's going to be offering value, rather than what you're wearing or what you're looking like, or if you're wearing makeup, or if your hair is done that day, or if you're standing in a place that doesn't have the greatest lighting, or whatever it may be. Obviously, I'm not saying that you should, you know X-nay on like the lighting and the quality, and like not putting any effort into putting out high quality content. Please don't like misunderstand here. But for me, I end up getting completely paralyzed and like putting in zero effort in that area, um, and not it not being perfect and up to my standards. And so, from a perfectionist mindset like that has really high standards for myself, I would say to anybody struggling with any of those couple of things that it's better to post the quality anyway. If you were to think about when you watch somebody else's stories or you watch somebody else's content, do you actually think about what they're wearing? Do you actually look at their hair? Do you actually notice if they're not wearing makeup? No. 99
Only if they point it out.
Only if they point it out. Like 99.999% of the time, at least for me, when I'm watching other people's content, like I would never think that, like, I'm always listening to the words that they're saying and the value that they're giving 100% of the time, more than what they're wearing. Like I don't even notice that the majority of the time, if I'm being honest. And so it's very much in our own minds, thinking that we're more important than we actually are. And I say that with love, but like nobody's judging you harder than you're judging yourself. And if
Mhm.
you can just show up and offer value, regardless of what you're wearing, regardless of what your hair looks like, regardless if you're wearing makeup, regardless of if you're in your car, like I started a series that's called the Lash Lift series on my social media, that I'm just answering questions while I drive, because the best answers come to me, the best ideas come to me when I'm driving. And even though it's not perfectly curated and I'm driving, I'm like hitting road bumps and I'm like singing to myself on this. I'm posting it because this is the best place that I can do it. And it's better for me to be offering value and answering these questions than to just be neglecting my audience altogether.
Mhm. That's really good.
What would you say? That was kind of a lot. Sorry, that was a lot.
That's
But
okay.
what would you say? Do you have any pieces of advice?
Yeah. I would tell you what I would tell myself, what I have told probably hundreds, if not thousands of people. And it's put your freaking blinders on. And I literally, like, I imagine horses in a parade going down the street, and there's people everywhere and there's things everywhere. And they have these blinders on the sides of their eyes so that they can focus on where they're going and they're not distracted and they're not spooked and they're not stressed, right? I get distracted, spooked, and stressed whenever I'm looking at other people too much. And this has been a consistency throughout my entire social media career. And it's where I'm at right now again, is I'm letting other people's opinions, ideas, other experts, like there's something different about knowing having a lot of knowledge about something and then just consuming it to paralysis.
Mm.
And I am back in a place again, and like I've been there before, and I've just posted like very mediocre content for a while, because I just couldn't get out of my head. But every time I literally stop scrolling, I stop trying to make my content like anybody else's, I stop listening to any experts, that's when my social media thrives, because I'm just being me and people can feel that it's authentic. Whether it's curated or not, it is still authentic and true to me. And so it can be like the right colors and the right pictures and the right videos and the right lighting, but if I'm trying to mimic what somebody else is telling me to do, it feels inauthentic to me. And I have to go back to a place of putting my blinders back on and ignoring what the world is doing around me so that I can block out the visuals and block out the noise of everything else and go, what is it that I have to share? What is it that I have to offer? Because I can't get on social media without seeing, I counted the other day, 10 out of 13 reels that I swiped through were selling me something or telling me what to do. 3 out of 13 reels were purely for entertainment, and most of them were fluffy animals. And like, I I need to stop paying attention to what everybody's telling me to do and block out that so that I can just focus and give people what I have to offer. And that's the advice I would give to everybody else too.
It's phenomenal advice. Every time that you say put your blinders on to me, like as like little reminders, I'm like, yes, I can
Mhm.
hear it in Tressa's voice now in my head.
Yay! And I've
I
been
love
teaching
it.
it in classes for years.
It's a phenomenal piece of advice, and I really like what you were just talking about, you know, just putting your blinders on to what other people are doing. I feel like a lot of what I have experienced is that all of the pages that I follow on my social media is lash related content. Like I feel like I'm so close to what everybody else is posting. I'm so close to the lash world. That's the only thing that I am consuming is
Mhm.
lash everything. And I feel like if we can widen our scope of consumption and just life and experience and get your fucking toes in grass, like go stand in dirt for a little bit. I'm not even
Literally.
exaggerating.
Yeah.
Like if we can just widen our scope and start consuming other content or other conversations or experiencing life in real life
Or
more,
stop consuming.
or stop consuming and just like do whatever you need to do for yourself. But I feel like for me, every time that I take that 1,000-foot level and I like zoom out for a minute of the lash world, I'm like, I can breathe again. Like it feels
Yeah.
like a really big refresh breath that I'm like, there's my life. Like it feels so good. And I want to say that with like I am obsessed with this industry. I'm obsessed with learning. I am
Yeah, you
obsessed
are.
with lash like so much. I'm so obsessed with it that like when your work is your passion, it can sometimes be suffocating. Sometimes we do
Mhm.
have to have other experiences and other focuses for a minute in order to keep our passion alive and healthy with our passion and not get, you know, too sucked into it to where it can uh burn you out or it can become an unhealthy relationship
Right?
with social media or with your work in general in that topic. Um yeah, I really like what you just said there. I think that we can leave it at
Thanks.
that. This was a really good conversation.
I have one thing to add.
Oh, yeah, we have an announcement.
Okay. So I have one thing to add. Um, what I would add would be a twofold. One is an encouragement to you to make a commitment
Mm,
to your business as if your business is your boss
I like it.
and take it away from you. So if you have made a commitment before, like yes, show up one post at a time. And don't be like, "Oh my gosh, this is it. I'm going to do it all." You have to take 1% steps to get to the goal that you want to get to, otherwise it feels too big and overwhelming. But if you make a commitment to taking 1% steps, like taking like just my commitment is the next step towards another piece of content. Um make a commitment to your business as if your business is your boss, and then stay accountable to your business instead of having it be about your feelings. The second side of that is I am working on doing something similar to that, and I'm making a new commitment with my Instagram page. So, the most recent commitment I made with my Instagram page was that I wasn't there to sell anything. I'm not there to sell you anything because all I want to do is either add entertainment, encouragement, or education to your life. They're my three E's and I love them. So what I'm doing now moving forward, I have a reel like in the works that I need to create and post tomorrow. So maybe you've already seen it. But what I'm doing now is I'm going to be diving into my Instagram now from the perspective of what life looks like behind the scenes professionally as a creative director of a company in the lash industry. And I'm really, really excited to do this.
I'm obsessed with this idea for you, and I think that we're all so curious on what your day-to-days look like. I mean, I know what they look like, but I know that people really wanna know what your days look like, and so, like, I mean, I'm so excited.
I think
I'm
everybody
excited
will
for
be
you too.
shocked
Yeah.
at the amount of things and different things that I do throughout a day.
Yeah.
But I'm actually really excited because I think that there's so much creativity in this industry. There's so much ADHD in this industry. Because we're like we're entrepreneurs and we're creators and we're excited about it. And so I want to show you what my life looks like now as a professional versus what it used to look like as a professional, because I'm in a completely different role. I'm in a completely different place. I do lashes once in a while. I love them dearly, but I don't really teach lashes anymore unless it's on stage at a conference. I don't really um, take a full or even part-time clientele anymore because I've learned so much about the lash industry that now I'm in a different place and I want to be able to show you guys what that looks like and help you with your creativity. And I don't really know what it looks like yet, but like if you hear this podcast, come give me some love because like my Instagram has been painful for
Yeah.
many months trying to figure out where my new direction is, and this is it.
I'm so excited for the evolution for you, girl. Like, I'm
Thank
obsessed with it
you.
for you, and I'm so happy for you, and I'm so excited to watch this evolution unfold for you. It's
Me
exciting.
too. Have grace for me because I don't know what I'm doing yet.
Do any of us? I mean,
No.
let's be real. Does anybody really know what the fuck we're doing? Because, like, we can pretend that we know the algorithm, but, like, I don't think anybody knows the algorithm.
Fair.
It's
So are you going to go
crazy.
back to curating a feed that you love?
I am going to continue focusing on providing value.
Good.
And I'm going to continue just doing it in the way that I want to do it. Um, I have never really been someone that follows the norm and like gets stuck into the mainstream of like the trends and like all of those things. So, and I'm proud to say that I've never kind of been sucked into that. But it's challenging at times, you know, when
Mhm.
everywhere around you and everybody's doing the same thing. It is a little bit challenging to be the one going against the grain. And so I'm just going to keep focusing on providing value and nurturing my current audience. And I think that I'll make the commitment to just honor my ideas as they come to me and letting my ideas see the light of day because I believe that these ideas are coming to me because somebody needs to hear them. And
Yes.
I believe that by not sharing them when they come to me, then it is doing a disservice to the person or persons that do need to hear it. So I'm going to kind of take that approach and continue holding that really closely to my heart and my feed moving forward. And we'll see what ends up happening, and that's the 1% that I'm going to end up committing to right now because I don't want to overcommit and hit that extremist and then end up falling behind.
Amazing. I'm going to commit to 1% and to showing up differently and putting my flippin' blinders on. That's where we're at. Put your blinders on, guys.
Snaps for claps. Whee!
All right. We love you guys so much.
We love you guys. Thanks for
Come back
being
and join
here.
us again.
We love you.